The distress beacon pierced through subspace like a scream. Captain Mara Chen stood on the bridge of the Tenacity, watching the signal's origin point materialize on her nav display. Vorton Prime, a world marked in Federation databases with 3 red warnings: apex predator density, hostile terrain, human survival probability less than 12%. Captain, that's Reek's signature, her XO said, voice tight. The Vorton ambassador. Mara's jaw set. Reek had been more than an ambassador during the peace negotiations. He'd been the one Vorton who'd argued for humanity's inclusion in the Galactic Council, who'd looked past Earth's lack of natural claws and armor to see what lay beneath. Now he was missing on his own homeworld, and the Vorton fleet was 3 days out. "Take us down," she ordered. Her crew exchanged glances. They'd all seen the footage of Vortons in combat: 9 feet of scaled muscle, retractable talons that could shred duralloy, jaws that crushed bone like breadsticks. On their own world, surrounded by creatures that had forced them to evolve into perfect killers, even a human would think twice. Mara thought once, then she grabbed her pack. Vorton Prime's jungle writhed with life that wanted her dead. Mara moved through it like water through cracks, using what the galaxy saw as humanity's weakness. She was small. She slipped beneath the snapjaw vines. She was soft. She felt the tremor of a burrower before it surfaced and sidestepped its eruption. She was slow, but she was patient. And patience was a predator's virtue the universe had forgotten. The beacon led her 8 kilometers into territory that made the Vorton military zone look like a petting zoo. She found Reek's atmospheric shuttle crumpled against a canyon wall, half consumed by the jungle. Acid scoring on the hull, claw marks the size of her forearm. No body, no blood trail a human eye could follow. But Mara wasn't tracking with human eyes anymore. She was tracking with human instinct, that thing that had let her ancestors follow herds across continents, that had turned persistence into humanity's first weapon. She saw the broken branches too high for anything but a Vorton's leap, the disturbed earth where something heavy had dragged itself forward. The pattern that said, wounded, desperate, protecting something. 3 hours later, she found the cave. The smell hit her first, Vorton musk mixed with something else, something younger. She checked her scanner. 4 life signs, 3 small and fatting, 1 large and barely holding. Mara unsealed her sidearm but didn't draw it. Instead, she pulled out her medkit and a thermal blanket, and she did something no Vorton would ever do. She made herself small and walked in without her weapons raised. Reek lay in the cave's deepest chamber, his scales dulled with pain, one arm bent at an angle that made Mara wince. Around him, pressed against his chest and belly, were 3 Vorton cubs, tiny versions of their father, barely the size of human toddlers, their scales still soft and bright. The alpha's eyes snapped to her. His good arm moved, claws extending with a sound like blades being drawn. A warning growl rumbled through the cave. "Easy," Mara said softly in Vorton standard. "I'm here because of your beacon." "Human," the word came out as a rasp. Reek's eyes were glazing, blood loss may be toxin. "Leave, the night fangs will return, they hunt in packs." Mara knelt slowly 10 feet away, close enough to talk, far enough to run if instinct overrode reason. "That's why I'm not leaving, without you or them." One of the cubs mewled, a sound so unexpected from a species known for roaring that Mara's heart clenched. They were starving. Reek had used his body to shield them when the shuttle crashed, had dragged himself and his offspring to safety, had fought off predators for, she checked his beacon, 38 hours. No wonder the Vorton fleet was panicking. These weren't just cubs. In Vorton culture, cubs stayed with the homeworld creches. For Reek to have them with him meant they were his heirs, his legacy. "I can't protect them," Reek whispered. "When the night fangs come again, they won't get the chance." Mara opened her medkit. "I need to splint your arm and inject you with broad-spectrum anti-venom. It'll hurt." Reek's eyes focused on her with something like disbelief. "You would approach an injured Vorton Alpha, alone." Mara met his gaze. You trusted humans enough to speak for us when the galaxy wanted to leave us quarantined on Earth. I trust you enough to keep your claws to yourself. She moved forward. Humans, the galaxy had learned, were decent with technology. They were clever with diplomacy. They were stubborn in negotiation. What the galaxy hadn't learned, what they couldn't understand until they saw it, was what happened when a human decided something was theirs to protect. Mara set Reek's arm while he gritted his fangs, and the cubs watched with huge, frightened eyes. She dosed him with anti-venom and combat stimulants. She gave the cubs emergency nutrition paced from her pack, designed for human children but close enough to work. Then she heard it, the howling. Not one night Fang, a pack. Go, Reek managed, save yourself. Mara checked her weapon's charge. Yeah, that's not how humans work. She positioned herself at the cave entrance. 3 corridors led in. She collapsed 2 with carefully placed charges funneling the approach. The howling got closer. Through her helmet's low light she saw them, creatures that made Vortons look fragile, all teeth and hunger and pack intelligence. They expected prey. They found something they'd never encountered before, a human who decided to draw a line. The Vorton rescue fleet found them 18 hours later. They found Captain Mara Chen sitting at the cave entrance, her weapon dry, her armor scored with claw marks, surrounded by 6 dead Night Fangs. Behind her, Reek was conscious and stable. The cubs were sleeping, pressed against the human's back, instinctively recognizing what their father now understood. Humans weren't the galaxy's warriors. They weren't the fastest or strongest, but they were the persistence predators of Earth. And when a persistence predator decided something was worth protecting, the universe itself had to give way. Reek watched as his people lifted him and his cubs onto the medical shuttle, as they tried to take the humans separately to a hero's welcome. The cubs cried out and reached for Mara. She went with them, because that was what humans did. You saved my heirs, Reek said as the shuttle lifted off. My people will never forget. Mara smiled, exhausted, one cub still clutching her finger. We look after our own. You stood for us when it mattered. That made you ours. And in that moment, the galaxy learned what the Night Fangs had learned too late. Humanity's greatest weapon was never their technology or their stubbornness. It was their choice of what and who to call family.